Good evening, everyone. I'm going to call the June 27, 2022 Select Board meeting to order. Actually, make that the Board of Public Works meeting to order. It is 6 p.m. And also, regarding the Zoom, I'm saying this mostly as an update. Governor Baker has updated he updated in February, but as a reminder, we are doing these Zooms. We're required to do the Zoom meetings until July 15th of this year. So we are doing that tonight. Paper it's so super. So can I have a motion to open the meeting?
So moved.
Nope, you don't need a motion.
I don't need a motion to
No,
open?
you don't need a motion.
Okay, thank you. We have meeting minutes, though, from the Board of Public Works on, I think it was August.
I thought we were doing Public Works first. I thought
Public
that
Works,
what you said?
we have some public work
they're
meeting
Public Works minutes from last year.
from last year.
Since 2021.
We're real popular.
We think we've met since then, but could you help me with when they were?
I think they're
May-
August 9th of
August.
2021.
August 9th of 2021. If anybody's had a chance to read them, if not, we can put them up for another year.
I joined this meeting late. I read the minutes, and think I'm okay to vote on them. I'm just concerned because Tom wasn't on, Mitch is not here any longer, and so Lyndon's not here. So if I'm not okay to vote, then it
It's
would just be
only two of
skipping
us.
Carol. But if I'm okay to vote,
You're all right to
You should
vote.
be fine to vote
Okay.
on the minutes, yeah,
Okay.
Yeah,
absolutely.
you were just, wait,
I was late and I read through the minutes, but okay.
great. So Skip made a motion,
I'll second. Wait 1 second.
roll call,
Clock eye.
Benoit aye,
Whitman, I.
Galvin
You-
staying there.
Galvin, Skip. All right. So, we are going to talk about an abatement first.
Yes, just for the advantage of the new member, and
Yes.
everyone else who might be watching. So, Public Works, we don't do a lot of water and sewer abatements because, you know, if it comes into the house and went through the meter, you're gonna pay for it, and we assume it went out of the house. So some stuff we currently abate. If you had to fill a pool for the season, we'll ask you, roughly how big is the pool, or we'll see if you can get us a meter read before and after, and we'll abate the sewer charges, because the water didn't go down the drain. I had somebody who had frozen pipes that were in Florida, and their whole house flooded. And as you can imagine, the insurance claim was sizable. We abated those sewer charges, but the water went through the meter. The most common one we get is toilet leaks, where the toilet runs on its own, and we've never abated those. But at the same time, you have to have a procedure because stuff comes up. So what we tell folks is, if you really feel strongly about something, write us a letter, and we'll bring it to the Board of Public Works, and you can make the decision on merit. Skip, I have your copy, but normally we black out the names and the addresses, and we just review it on merit, okay? Sometimes the board decides to help the folks out, and sometimes they don't. You may not agree. So, I'm not gonna read the letter. It's relatively short, but I'll explain to you basically what happened. It sounds like the person planted a new tree and was watering the tree regularly and left the water running for 2 days. And they're just asking for an abatement for the sewer charges. But it doesn't really fall under the normal stuff we debate for. So by means of example, if you want to put a new lawn in, we won't abate the sewer charges for that. So I hope that answers, and I can take any questions. But typically when you make a vote, and if you want to read that and ask me some quick questions, you're welcome to. Typically what you would do is take no action or take action. If you take action, I can calculate an abatement. If you decide to take no action, it just, we let the folks know. And as a final step, if someone felt really strongly about it, we open it up so that that person could come and talk to the board directly. So that's the process. Any questions on process? All right. Do you want to read the letter quick, or?
No, I read it.
If I may, through the chair. Joe, you have no way, obviously because it was left on in error, so you have no way, nor did anybody track it, an estimate of how much water was used.
We can rough it out. We could either, we got two things we can do. We could look at if they've been there for any length of time, and they have an average usage, we could try and estimate it that way. Or we can just figure out how much comes out of a garden hose for 3 days.
3 days, okay.
Okay?
All right, no, just a question, okay, thank you.
Filling a whole pool.
I'm sorry?
It's like filling a whole pool.
It is.
Yeah.
It's not that much money, but I can see, you know, water, that's our next conversation. Water and sewer rates are expensive.
If I may, the bills for this have not yet gone out. This person is preemptively realized
I
it.
think the
and
bills have gone out,
They have, for
Yeah.
this bill, for this cycle?
yes.
Okay. And so it was.
It'd just be a credit.
But did you notice, or was it flagged as a significant
No, it
difference?
wasn't flagged. As far as I
Okay.
know, this one wasn't flagged.
Okay.
It's a good question, though. Someone actually physically goes through the list of bills and looks for excessive usage or no usage. We do that, and this one didn't get flagged, no. Unlike it, you implied, filling a pool, we wouldn't flag as excessive. It's gotta be a lot.
Right.
Wow, we'd have to be more than that to be flagged, huh?
Oh, yeah. Believe it or not, the most
That's a lot.
common one is toilet leaks. I talked to one person up off of Brunel. They had multiple bathrooms in the house, and this one bathroom, you know, just ran for a month, 2 months at a time. And it would flush on its own, and that was far more than filling a pool.
Well, roughly, say, using the pool as an example, what would that roughly cost, you think?
I don't,
You
we
know.
actually calculate on every single one of them. We just do it based on the volume.
Right.
And all you're looking at, the abatement cost, it's not so much the cost to buy the water, because you pay for that.
Right.
The only thing we abate is the sewer charges, which is just over $11 a 100 cubic feet. Or 780 gallons. 748 gallons, sorry, 748 gallons. So, you know, pools, they go anywhere from $25 of abatement to maybe $100 in sewer charges. Depends on how big they are.
Does anybody need more time, or do they want to make a motion?
I mean, I feel like that recently we've been taking no action on these, and
And I'll agree with that. I was just gonna say the same thing.
I feel kind of torn. You know, it's always, I feel torn for the homeowner side of things, but I think it's hard to accurately capture where that abatement should fall. And it's how much that abatement should be, and I don't know. I mean,
We definitely want to abate the water,
Yeah.
because that went through the meter.
yeah.
But if we abate anything, we abate sewer charges, because that water didn't go down the drain.
Right. Right.
No, I'll second your motion, Leah.
Did you make a motion?
I was doing it
You were
more for
thinking about
discussion
it, yes.
and just, yeah.
I'm seconding it. If it's just for discussion, and it's got to be on the record. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not my fault that they let the hose running, and it's nobody else's fault in town that they let the hose running and the waste of water and whatever. So, no. Maybe I'm hard at it, but hey, I have a well at home. If I leave it running, it pumps it dry, and then I'm SOL.
Yeah, like I said, I feel like recently, and I'm trying to remember back recently, I feel like almost all the abatements we've been taking as no action, partially because it falls then to the rest of the ratepayers, you know, and maybe it's,
Yeah.
you know, $100 divided over the course of the ratepayers, but that's again and again and again, and kind of where do we stop? I don't know. On the flip side, I feel bad for the homeowners, like,
Yeah.
especially in,
But it's not really any different than, like you said, a running toilet.
Right.
I mean, it's not intended.
We
but-
didn't have to pay to treat the wastewater. That's the only difference.
So the request, Joe, obviously looks like they're only requesting an abatement for sewer. They're not requesting an abatement for water.
Correct.
So, okay.
And you feel, if I may, you feel like it's reasonably fair and easy to calculate what that abatement would be?
We should be able to come up with a number, and you know what, I forgot to mention this earlier, we did abate one of these before. There was a person who lived in a condo, one of their children left the water running for a month. We did abate that one.
That was flagged, I assume.
That was flagged,
No, I don't.
but I leave it up to you folks.
Yeah, like I said, I'm just trying to, I know that maybe the ones that have come before us before have been both water and sewer abatements, or water abatements, not wanting to pay the water charges that clearly the water had been used. I think this person is, as Joe mentioned, not discounting that the water was used and is willing to pay for that. And so it's just on the sewer side of things. Joe, do you normally abate pools if you're notified after the fact?
We do. Most people are very honest about that.
Yeah.
They write it down, they come in with pictures.
Yeah.
What you're trying to say is this would be the same as a pool.
Yeah, in some ways, because they're not arguing the water payment. They're fine with the water payment, but the water that was used, to Joe's point, didn't go down the sewer. They're asking for the abatement on the sewer side. So I think that's, if we legitimately weren't paying for that water that went down, that didn't go down the sewer, then I think would be okay abating it.
All right.
I seem to think, though, that the last one of the ones that we did, they were watering a tree or 2 or 3,
Yeah, I can't.
and they didn't want to pay the sewer for it. So I'm not quite sure if this is different. So I want to be mindful that
Right, that's what I
It's
was,
important to be consistent.
consistency
yeah.
keeps us out of hot water.
And I was trying to remember, and off the top of my head, I feel like we have not been doing a lot of abatements, but I also think a lot of them have been both for the water usage or water and sewer.
And I don't remember if it included the
Right.
water, but
As far as I know, we've never abated any water.
right.
So
That's never happened.
I'll make a motion that we abate the sewer only.
Second.
Any more discussion? Roll call.
Okay.
Galvin, aye.
Wait a minute.
Benoit, aye.
So, I also asked to begin a discussion about rates.
Correct.
So as everyone's aware, we have to be able to fund the budget that was passed at the spring town meeting. And that will include some rate increases, there's no way around that. Probably, and I believe I copied the town administrator and possibly the chair. 3 or 4 months ago, we noticed we were gonna have some trouble funding the utility, and met with our consultant to work on getting a update to our rate study, because there's been a lot of structural changes in the utility since that was done. And we pushed it off pending administrative changes. The consultant needs a couple months to do that work. So we're probably going to have to come up with some interim solutions. On the wastewater side, we're in pretty good shape. We're really only looking at a minimal increase, someplace between 3 and 4%. The water side, that's sizable. And it's not sizable because of any changes to the water system, any staffing increases, anything like that. It's all basically debt. We borrowed a bunch of money all at once, and we're going to have to start to pay that down. When the money was borrowed, we got very, very good rates. And in the long term, I think we'll benefit from that. And we've already benefited a great deal from the money we borrowed. It's just, we have to come up with a way to manage that debt. I also think wastewater charges may actually remain relatively flat over the next couple of years, and that could also help. So, my question is this: how do we want to proceed with the update of the rate study. And do you have any questions on that?
Could you refresh people's mind about who does that rate study?
The last rate study was done by Weston and Sampson Engineers, and they hired one of 2 accounting firms available in the state that do that kind of work. The Abrams Group is one, and then there's one other firm. And what prompted probably 2 or 3 boards back to do that work was consecutively the sewer utility couldn't pay for itself, and you were trying to come up with the best way to proceed forward. So what came out of that was 55% raises in sewer, and some of the borrowing we're talking about now to make capital improvements to the system. We've definitely benefited on the cost operation side for wastewater, for sure, spending that capital money. And we used a lot of capital money to keep water operations running in the short term when we had staffing problems. So changes that have happened since the rate study was written. So we've lowered our overall operating cost for wastewater a little bit. We have a completely different water staff. We have some long-term and short-term debt that's going to fall off on the wastewater side. The utilities have since been combined. At the time the report was written, they were separate. So basically, I had a phone conversation with the then town administrator, Ron St. Angelo, and I want to say someone else from the board. And what we basically banged around was, could you just do a quick update? And what we asked them to look at was the debt, the restructuring of the utility, and updates to the wastewater, because some of our operating costs for wastewater have gone down. So that they gave us a number and they gave us a timeline. And then things kind of sat because of some administrative changes that went on here. And that's all fine. It's just, we have to be able to fund the utility after July 1. So we have to come up with some rate increases. And at the same time, maybe possibly move some retained earnings in the fall. And at the same time, make a decision as to whether we want to get the rate study updated or not. Does that answer your question, Carol? Or?
Without the rate study, my question would be, how will we come up with the new rate?
We can estimate the rate. It's just, if I put pen to paper, that could be 30-40% increase for water. And I think what we want to do is a nominal increase and then possibly make some updates in the fall with retained earnings to address the debt.
So this rate study, what's it cost?
Oh, probably $15,000.
We can't do that ourselves. We can't do something ourselves.
Just throwing money at a rate study that 15 grand would be better spent at a guess more so than just throwing it out for somebody to say, oh, you gotta do this, you gotta do that. Well, we already know we gotta do it.
We could.
I have this thing about going out for studies and certifications and this and that, when we can do that in-house. That roads thing that Ron pushed through, I was against that 100%. Spending all that kind of money to tell us what roads we need to fix in town? We can't drive over and tell ourselves? I have a problem with this.
And that's all right. It's just that, and if you were me, and you're sitting here, and I agree with you, could I make some suggestions to come up with a way to manage the rate? And could I possibly come up with a...
Well, that's your job.
But, hear me out, please. Absolutely. The problem is, when you go to talk to the people I work for, namely the water and sewer ratepayers, they may not necessarily agree. And if I walk in the door with a 30% increase in your water rates, the first thing you're going to ask me is, did you get somebody else to look at it? Because the folks who pay that money every single quarter are going to give me a hard time if I didn't back that up.
Well, I don't know, I think you'd find that the people on the water, I'm not there, but people on the water and sewer I think they would be preference to figure it in-house than to go out and spend 15 grand to tell me I gotta increase the rates 20% now and 10% later. Or 30% now and 20% later.
I would.
I mean, this is just me. I don't know how the rest of the board feels, but with all
It's-
the
it's about-
experience we got in-house, we can't do this ourselves?
I think we can do some of it in-house, definitely. And I can make a recommendation as to where it's gotta go. But I think, given the size of the rate increases you're looking at to cover the debt over the long term, I think you're gonna wanna get a third party to look at it, because people aren't gonna believe you.
So this is just to back up your estimate,
Absolutely.
and that's all it is, it's just.
Well, they might be able to make some better recommendations on how we manage that debt, too. I'm not an accountant by trade. But that's not the big problem. That's the easy part. We could say no to that. We still have to make some immediate decisions, so we have to set a date maybe for another hearing. We have to set that rate, because after July 1, we have a completely different budget year, and we have to be able to fund the utility.
When does the next bills, when do the next bills come out?
July, October.
Right.
And we didn't want to do a big formal rate study. We just wanted to update the one we already paid.
If you had to do it today, Joe, what would you be increasing
35%?
on both?
No, sewer just 4, 5 at the most.
35% for water.
Yeah,
How would that roughly come out to affect somebody personally paying the bill? Roughly, like
a
estimate,
couple $100 a year.
a year?
I've got some stuff here we can look at quick. This is what's really driving the bus, if you don't mind.
If I may, part of the
Absolutely.
drive to do the front end debt loading was knowing how interest rates were looking and everything. Was
Right,
that
we benefited from that,
So-
absolutely.
kind of take the hit early and pay less long-term than potentially
Exactly.
spread it out and have to pay as rates go up or whatever? Is that,
Yep. But you have to look at it this way, I mean, the water budget's gonna go up $200,000 just on debt alone. And I just have to recover those funds, that's all. We can offset some of those costs for the user overall by lowering some of the sewer charges. But again, I wanted to have some help with that.
and not everyone is on both water and sewer. I mean, majority. but-
90%.
Yeah.
I want to step out on a limb here and ask Karen something. So we're not accountants. Do you have anybody on your finance committee that would sit on a ad hoc to look at this? And I agree with Skip and with Joe, when people are gonna go, what? I mean, you increase anything and people are gonna scream.
Yeah, but Weston and Sampson and the accountants that they're going to hire do this for a living. This
And-
is a specialty kind of thing, and if you're gonna raise it that way, and where we're gonna have to be, it's better to have experts in the field do it. It's like you don't have a tax return done by just anybody, you have it done by somebody who knows a tax code. It's the same kind of thing. This is something that, yeah, an accountant can do it, but they can look at it and say, you should do this with your debt, you should do this. They've got the ins and outs on water and sewer.
Okay. Thank you for your input.
So Joe, specifically, what are you asking for tonight?
Asking for two things. Actually three things. One, please consider hiring a professional to do the water and sewer study. You don't have to make a decision right now. You can get back to me or reschedule this meeting in a couple of weeks. Set up a meeting to set the rates. And if we decide either way, we should probably do something with it at the fall town meeting as well. So those are the three things. So figure out what you want to do with the rate study, set a meeting to set rates so that we can keep the utilities up and running. And then if we have to move money in the fall, make sure you're aware of it. That's all.
May I ask, please? I'm more of the mindset, not necessarily to just automatically, I do see a lot of value in hiring and having the firm look at the rates again. Where would that roughly 15,000 come from? Would that come from retained earnings?
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
just wondering logistically where, you know,
We do
have
carry
to-
some engineering money in
Okay.
both the utilities. We
Okay.
should be able to cover that.
Okay.
I don't think you'd see that, that's not the money you're looking at.
No, I just wanted to make sure that we're not necessary, you know, that we get a good return on our investment and where that money is coming from. I think that there is value, especially when we're looking at utility of this, for Rutland of this size, and knowing what that new debt is looking like and everything, having another set of professional eyes on it, that, you know, that's what they do. So I think that there's value to that, and to then go to the ratepayers and say, look, we know this is a hit and this is what we're working on to minimize that hit and, you know, long-term or whatever.
Thank you. If you just want to look at the chart I gave you quick, the line that's yellow is where we are currently. And if you really just look at 21, we were at 199,000 in debt payments, and then 23, we're looking at 484. That's a lot of money to make up. And that doesn't have anything to do with utility costs. So what we probably end up doing is trying to offset some of that debt for the first 4 or 5 years, and then level and move on from there. But again, I want to get a professional in to look at it. Echoing what the chair from the Finance Committee said, we did get a very, very good rate. And in the long term, we're going to end up paying less money on this borrowed money, which is great. The problem is the note's a little front-end loaded. So you get hit in the front. We've all done that, bought a car for 4 years versus buying a car for 6 years. You pay more for 6 years, but you have that heavier bill to pay, and that's basically what we've got here. And I think we can deal with it, and we can make adjustments. I also want to say the borrowed money went some great places. It went to do the metering study for the sewer side, and we were able to find out that we were paying almost 30% more for sewer charges to Worcester and to the Upper Blackstone than we were supposed to. That's a huge win for this borrowed money. We used it to replace some water main in the Inwood Road area, and we used it to run the plant for a while when we didn't have people. So the money's gone to good places, and we haven't even spent it all. So I think that my point is I think the borrowing was good, and the utilities have definitely benefited from it. It's just we have to learn how to manage the money. So, thoughts?
That 15,000, is that the actual fee?
I can get you the
Okay, so
number.
you'll get an
I
exact
could go look at my phone and get you the exact number. I didn't bring it with me, I'm sorry. I had sent it a while ago and I just don't have the number in my head, but I'll get it for you.
And I think you've said, Joe, that about 40% of the town is on water and sewer. I know it's not the same, but approximately.
51 or 52% of households is on water and sewer. So just over half of the town is supported by water and sewer. But it's households, they have a lot smaller lots.
That's not including any of the new developments?
That's everything.
Oh, that does, okay.
Yep.
So every approved lot is...
Well, no, only if you're only paying water and sewer right now. So what we did was we looked at the total number of households that pay taxes in Rutland, where people actually live, and the total number of people that pay taxes and pay water and sewer. And that's how we come up with that number.
Yep.
You can't do it based on land, because folks who are on septic and well, they have typically much bigger lots.
Right.
So 52% of all households in Rutland are supported by water and sewer.
And about 90% of those are both water and sewer.
Yeah. In the schools. So we don't have to have answers now, but I think we need to set another Board of Public Works meeting, probably sometime in the next 2 weeks to a month, and try and lay out a course to go forward with the rates, that's all.
Do you anticipate a problem if the rates are effective July 1, but we don't meet to approve them until?
That's happened before, there's some precedent there, so we'll be okay. I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't put it in front of you.
All right.
If we could get like a rough the cost for the study.
Yeah, I just have to look
that's
it up
fine.
quick.
And then kind of your kind of proposed rates thinking, just so we can kind of digest it a little bit in advance of the next meeting and get a sense as to, you know, where we're looking at least for the next year. Because I assume that rate study, we would have to set the rates before the rate study was
We are.
complete. So
But
it
it
would
was,
be
they
a 1
needed
year,
like 120 days.
yeah.
So we'd probably set some rates and make some decisions in the
Yeah.
fall.
And then the rate could very well be adjusted up or down once the study was done.
Definitely not gonna go down.
Well, I'm saying based on what what you come to us with, you still think it'd be more than that?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, that's what I'm talking about, what you come to us for initial, for that 120
There's other stuff
days.
that we asked them to do and I forgot to mention, I'm sorry. Like, some folks complain about the loan payments that are still on the bills. We were hoping to put those into the rates, and what that looks like. But it's kind of minor.
One other thing, if you're looking to do like retained earning use in the fall town meeting or anything, kind of where the retained earnings are standing, and what that might, I think that would kind of come into play as we have the rate conversation, but just again,
The
I don't
only
need that
thing
information
we're
now.
looking at doing, so let's say retained earnings, round numbers, is around $800,000. All right, so the only thing we'd want to do is use, try and get this debt payment down to maybe drop it 150 or drop it 200, so you don't have to whack the ratepayer so bad on the front end of the loan. That's all we're looking to do.
Mhm. Thank you. And thanks for all the work that I know you've been doing with this on the sewer side, because that was a huge time sink and victory. And so thank you for that. And I hope the ratepayers appreciate that side of things.
Well, we're trying to, what prompted me to have this, just asked to speak in the first place was I really just didn't want to hammer people out of the gate. You could take that, we're just trying to soften some of that blow.
Yeah.
That's all.
Thank you.
So, do you want to set a meeting?
Just a question, Joe, and thanks for the information. So, based on the rate study that you've already had, and if the board
Most,
asked you for a number, which I believe they did, what would it be right now? You said 35%,
yeah,
which is average of $200 per year per household.
right.
If you did have another rate study, would you expect an additional increase, or, and if not, how far would that 35% get you? Because what do you have, 1,900 users, meters? Roughly?
No, 1650,
Okay.
plus or minus.
So I guess my question is, if you were to increase the rates now by 35%, would you still be coming back to the board for an additional increase based on, or do you feel we need a second rate study?
I don't know if I understand the question. What I suggested that the board do, and I'm just going to explain one more time, if that, hopefully that helps. We had the rate study done 3 years ago. There's been a lot of changes. We now have a combined utility. The dates, the way, the manner in which we borrowed the money doesn't line up with the rate study. And some other factors are in play. We don't have moratoriums for water and sewer, so we have some construction money coming in, which helps offset some of that cost. And some of the sewer operating cost has actually gone down. So, and we're losing some debt payments in wastewater. So we may be able to offset some of this water cost with that loss over the next couple of years. So all I wanted to do was bring the players back in, give them the updated information, and have them make some recommendations. The problem was we started this process 3 or 4 months ago, and it didn't get done. So now we're coming into the start of the next fiscal, and we have to be able to fund the utility. So that's why I came before the board to come up with both some short-term and long-term.
Okay, nice.
Does that help?
It does, thank you.
All right.
I don't think there's any action to be taken then on this at this point.
But I'm,
Set a time, a date.
Set
July
a
11th?
date. Tom,
Take a motion.
are you, you're.
I'm going next meeting, yes.
Okay.
What is the
So,
next meeting?
The
July
5th,
11th.
What is it?
July 5th.
Oh,
No, July 11th is our next.
July
July
11th is the
11th,
next.
okay.
I'm going to.
no. Yeah, so maybe going after.
that would be the 25th.
July,
And I'd like to have everybody here if
Yes.
they can, if it's not pushing it out too far.
25th?
If you're okay with that.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
some deliverables for me. What I'll do is I'll send them to you, and the chair, and you can forward them on. So you need the proposal from Weston Sampson, and you need the rate estimate. Anything else you'd like?
I'd like to see the 3 years ago study, if you have any.
Sure, I've got them.
I'd be interested
We've
to
got them in
see,
paper, and we've got them in,
see
there are
what
a
the
lot of
metrics is.
recommendations. A lot of it worked out really well. Like you said, a lot of it has to do with the manner in which we borrowed the money. But again, from a strictly financial standpoint, it's a good call. It's just we have to adjust, that's all.
Carol, are we setting the rates at the next meeting? Should that be a public hearing,
We'll set the rates
Joe?
at the next meeting.
We'll set the
All right, so we'll
rates.
do that one as a public hearing.
Correct.
Yep.
I think that's it for
Thank you.
Board of Public Works.
Thanks, Joe.
Have a meeting to adjourn. Public Works.
Hi.
Have a motion to adjourn.
Wait a second.
Roll call.
Galvin, aye.
Wait a minute.
Benoit aye.